So ask yourself that. What are you afraid of? You need to spend a little time writing out what your fears are. And it's not this child part that's afraid. It wants to be calm and have fun and just be honest and do what it likes to do. It knows what it likes to do. It knows what your passions are. It's connected to your passions. Um, if it was allowed to um, be calm and relaxed, it would probably have so many wonderful ideas. So this is the part of the mind that does the pushing. So we need to look at that and look at the fears. That what is this part afraid of? Why is it pushing you? Why will it not let you relax? Why is it creating so much pressure and overwhelm and um, energy in your body? Like, why? Why is it doing this? What is it afraid of? Afraid of being embarrassed, afraid of failing, afraid of not being accepted, not being loved. What is it? What is it afraid of? Because it is, we need to know that because it's creating anxiety and not producing a nice, loving, nurturing, calm environment for that little part of you that just needs to feel safe. One thing I didn't mention about the physical that just came to my mind is food. And I know you may or may not have ever experienced this if you've never really experimented with your diet or played with your diet any, but different foods, once you get them out of your system, you will feel totally different. And this is all about body chemistry. This also isn't something I'm just making up here, but different foods interact in different ways with your chemistry. And the chemicals in your body are hormones. Hey, do hormones affect our mood? Do hormones affect our feeling anxious or calm? Absolutely 100% yes. If you are, especially if you're a female out there, which most of this audience is, you know what hormones can do to you. You know that when they're out of whack or when they're all over the place, or when they're normal, they're acting normally, but hormones fluctuate. Just even if your diet's perfect, our female hormones fluctuate for different reasons. I can't spell that either, so I'm gonna pretend I didn't even try to write it. Y'all just forget I did that. So hormones matter, and when your food is out of whack, meaning you don't really have the best diet and you're not eating that great, or maybe you're also not getting enough sleep. That can cause all kinds of imbalances here. It can cause your mind to be tired and stressed. So all of these things can really affect you having that system overwhelmed. When you think about anxiety, I want you to stop thinking about this phantom monster that is in your body that you don't know how to deal with, and you're afraid it will always be with you, and it just seems so overwhelming. I want you to stop. That thought in and of itself, as I said before, is overwhelming. So I just want you to think, when you're feeling that feeling, I don't want you to think the word anxious. I just want you to think system overwhelmed. Almost like you can hear system overwhelmed. You can hear some recording in your mind saying system overwhelmed. And that's saying to you, hey, check. Do all these little checks that I'm talking to you about today. What do I need to check on here? What do I need to change? What's going on? You got little alarm bells going off to say you might want to, get yourself to a calmer space. You might want to remove yourself from this environment. This may not be so healthy for you. You might want to change some of the things you're thinking about. You might want to change some of the things you're watching on TV. You might want to change some of the people you're hanging out with. You might want to change the messy house you're living in. You might want to change anything that is, you might want to change those foods. You might want to change whatever, how loud your environment is, the colors in your house. You might want to change something because something is overwhelming your system. And the more you know about yourself, the more you can know what stimulates calm, what your system likes. And by system, I mean your physical body, your mind, and your spirit. Knowing what it likes helps you take care of it. So I want you to see that this isn't, I'm sorry, my kid is yelling in the background. He's playing some game, probably 2K, and he gets on there with other friends, and then they yell at each other. I think they're actually having a good time, but he's really loud. Anyway, find out where the overwhelm is coming from. What is overwhelming your system? So I just want to minimize it, but not. I don't want you to think, oh God, she doesn't understand. She's minimizing my problem. And I don't want to minimize it for the fact of making you feel like you're not understood or not seen, or that I don't care about the feeling. I know it's real. I know it's real. I had it for so long. And you know what? It is a rare occasion that I have it now. And I think that the majority of my anxiety then was definitely coming from this not knowing it was emotional and not knowing how to have a loving, nurturing voice for this part of me. Now, sometimes, this part here can come to you afraid. I think both of these, and I've said this in different ways in different courses, but I actually think that both of these can hold fears. Both of these can be afraid of different things. This is more afraid of failing in its outer world, like in the eyes of other people, or people, thinking bad of it, or excluding it, or being shunned, or, the appearances, basically. And this one's afraid of more basic things. Of not, not getting what it needs, not feeling, and I've told y'all these 4 things that it wants: to be seen, heard. I could not be writing worse today. Heard, wanted, and safe. So it wants to feel all of these things. And sometimes it gets afraid that it's not being heard, or it's not seen, or that it's not wanted. And so it does not feel safe. So it can have fears too. And if you're a loving, nurturing caretaker, when it comes to you with these things, you can learn how to help it calm by saying, I see you, and it's okay that you feel that way. And I hear you, and you know what, you are right, that was unfair, or they were not very nice to you. But I'm here for you, and I love you, and I'm listening to you, and I'm going to protect you, and I'm going to take care of you. And that can create calm once it starts to trust you. This takes time, this emotional, working on the emotional aspects of anxiety. You're going to have to be patient, okay? Now, those other things that I talked about, like with the physical and spiritual, a lot of those things, if you just take care of them, or just pay attention to what's going on, and learn yourself, you can take care of those things pretty easily and quickly. With the emotional work, even if you know the things to do, which I'm telling you what things to do, it's basically just be nicer to yourself, like to talk, have a much nicer, calmer, more loving, nurturing parent here. You're relearning how to parent yourself. So basically that's it. But even if you do that, and you do that consistently, and you do that very well, it takes a little time for this part to trust that. So you're repairing this relationship. And once you repair it and you start to build trust instead of it being afraid of you, afraid of that inner dialogue and being overwhelmed, it starts to trust you, and then it relaxes. And then it is no longer overwhelmed, and then therefore there is no longer anxious energy. My mind did this. I did not know how to calm this part, and this part was afraid. Most of my anxiety was around my kids, that most of it was about their physical well-being, that I would not be there and something horrible would happen to them, that I would miss it. They used to love to play in the alley behind our house. And I was terrified that someone would drive down that alley and not see them. And, the worst possible scenario, they'd be out in the alley. I'd let them go out there and play. And my mind would be in the kitchen washing dishes, showing me just what's happening to them, like horrible images. And it was horrible, the fear that I felt constantly around them. I remember I'd get in the shower and I would see just the most horrible scenes of what must be happening to my kids in this moment. And I didn't know how to calm that. I just played those videos. I allowed those to play in my mind instead of saying, hey, and let's talk about that. What would I say to myself now that I know all this stuff, and now that I know how to calm myself? I would take this very scared part of me aside and say, what I told y'all to do, what are you afraid of? Well, I'd be afraid of losing kids and feeling that horrible pain, because I can't even imagine it. And I would say, I hear you. I see that you're afraid, and I hear you. And then I would say, I would ask myself, is that in your control? Is there life and death in your control? And I would say, well, to some extent, yes. I'm in charge of watching them, and as their mother, I'm in charge of watching them and keeping them safe. And then I would say, yes, that is true, and you're right, and you're doing the best that you can, and you're doing everything that you know to do. And what else? Is it all on you? Is it all your responsibility? And then I would say, well, I do have a God room, a God that sees and knows and could alert me, when I needed to be there or do something, or, things may be more, maybe they're not in my control, but maybe there's a plan, and maybe I could trust that plan. So I would have a conversation, and I would evaluate my beliefs that support calming myself. So you're basically talking yourself off the ledge. You're talking yourself out of these fears. You're talking some sense to yourself. You're reasoning with yourself, and you're grabbing hold of beliefs and thoughts that bring relief and comfort. These are key to calming fears, and not just calming them, eliminating them. They can be eliminated. So if I had talked to myself, I would say, when my mind would start to feel it, it would start to show me the images. I would start to feel the anxiety in my body from seeing those images. I would say, hey, is this all on you, or do you have some help? Do you have something higher than you that is watching out for them and would probably alert you if you're nice and calm and relaxed? It'd probably alert you of the best way, the safest way to raise these boys. Would that happen? Yes, I believe in that. I believe that would happen. Then those images would stop, that fear would calm, and then it may come back. It may come back. I may be doing something later, and then here comes oh God, here comes the dialogue again. And then I would say, okay, I would step in as this part and say, okay, I see you. I see what's happening here, and let me remind you again. So it reinforces the comforting belief. So one of the things for the action step for the emotional for you is to find the comforting belief. And this part of you, the little part of you, has to believe it. Believe it and accept it. It does no good if, this part's saying, oh no, this won't happen because such and such and such and such. Or, oh, you'll be okay. It's like this part, this little child part has to be like, yeah, that makes me feel better. You have to answer say, that actually brings me some comfort. That actually brings me some relief. And when you can say that, that's it. There's your statement. You have to find a comforting belief statement. And the shorter that this comforting belief statement is, the better, because it's easier to remember. So find it, and we'll do another recording about how to find the comforting belief statement. I hope that has helped. Do your checks around the physical, do your checks around the spiritual, and then find your fears. Ask yourself the question, find your fears, and then find your comforting belief. And let's see what happens. I think some really good things will happen. Remember, if most of your anxiety is coming from internal, it's going to take some patience as you build some trust between these two. All right, that's it.